we doing, everybody? Stevie B on a little midday. Back to the Matrix live. Not necessary at this point. Just gonna record our thoughts. As you can see, we put up the video most recently. We'll adjust the lighting for the next one, but it's real talk at all times. We're just spitting true commentary from people who know what they know, people who observe the league, people who have opinions. And so what I did not get a chance to do, and what I'm going to do now, is project what I believe the Celtics starting potential lineups, and backup lineups could look like. Now, this is given that nothing changes from the way that we stand right now. All right. So obviously, you roll with Kemba at the point guard. Your obvious twos are Jaylen Brown, Gordon Hayward potentially. We don't know. Okay. You have a starting lineup that could include, Jaylen Brown at the 2, Gordon Hayward at the 3, Jason Tatum at the 4. And then you got Cantor at the 5. Now, really, that's a starting lineup that includes a lot of ballers. And when you got the toughness of Cantor in there, although they say he's a defensive liability, you got a man like Tatum who can swing quickly and still have length to contest shots. But being bodied up by potential power forwards would be an issue there. So then you move to the starting lineup of Kemba. Obviously, the only reason I'm saying this is simply because they're paying him what they're paying him, so they're going to start him. They're not going to put Gordon Hayward off the bench. Plain and simple. I just don't see a scenario in which they choose to start JT and JB and have Gordon Hayward anchor the backup unit. They're paying him way too much money. Okay, so your second starting lineup potentially would look like Gordon Hayward at the 2, obviously Kemba at the 1, Jason Tatum at the 3, because let's just face it, they're not going to bring this dude off the bench. They're not. I would prefer a Jaylen Brown at the 3, but you go with a Jason Tatum at the 3. Then you do Robert Williams at the 4 and a Cantor at the 5. Now that works for a lineup where you got a team that has like a Blake Griffin at the 4, and Griffin and Drummond. You gotta play, Williams and Cantor. Okay, obviously Philly with Horford and Joel Embiid. You're gonna have to play Williams and Cantor. That also will evolve during the season. I say you obviously start the season with Tatum at the 4, but play it, based on the lineup. You play Williams, in the starting lineup if you're playing the team that has a true power forward and a true center. If you're playing teams like the Bucks, who have, wing centers and stuff like that, and wing power forwards and one true center, then you play Jason Tatum, okay, at the 4. And you start JB. So you got starting lineup number 2. Starting lineup number 3 is a little bit more off. It really just involves putting Daniel Tice at the 4, which I think works better for our offense overall. If you have Daniel Tice at the 4, because he can stretch at the 4. And then you have Cantor at the 5, who finishes the basket, gets offensive rebounds. All of that works. Only thing changing, you still got Kemba, Gordon Hayward, JT. But Daniel Tice is severely undersold. And this to me is a year where he's bound to shine. He started to shine when Baines got injured, and 2 years ago, just before the playoffs, when Kyrie got injured and Scary Terry became known to everyone but me, who announced it a year before. Tice showed what he was capable of, and coming from the EuroLeague, having already been a professional, he was game ready already. He never really had an NBA sort of holdup. It was he basically slowly fit himself in and allowed his game to, fit with what the team was doing while stretching him. He had the mid-range pick and pop. The pick and roll, he drives to the hoop and finishes well. He has good hands at the basket. He plays great defense. All right. in terms of movement. And then he stretched himself to the 3, which reminded me of Aaron Baines stretching himself to the 3, which he hadn't done previous to being here. But Tice was more consistent at it. And Tice, is, to me, it's his time. You had to get rid of Baines because Tice has to shine. Obviously not as big a body, but but I like that lineup because of his experience. And so I'm looking at a potential backup lineup that would specifically involve Smart, JT, Semi Ojeleye, Robert Williams, and obviously Cantor and Tice would fluctuate with a sprinkle in of what's his name, the new guy, Grant Williams. That's not a bad move if he's what he's supposed to be. And then you sprinkle in a little backup 2 guard. It really starts to work itself out. You got some young players with potential, and the Celtics are not necessarily in a rebuild mode. I feel like they're trying to do what the Warriors had, but they had to get Kemba because Al Horford left, or because they knew they were renegotiating with Al Horford, and that if you had Al Horford and then Terry Rozier, that's fine. But when you got Al Horford, it's basically stating that he's not going to take his option, and you have an issue there. So you got to go out and get an all-star, in Kemba, who is confident in what he's already done. Kemba could easily come out and destroy teams a night or two. If he did this where he was at, he can do it again. It's difficult to say what the best starting lineup is, but you got 3 different potential starting lineups. One has JT at the 4 and JB in the starting lineup at the 2 with Hayward at the 3. You got Cantor and Kemba. Same lineup, Cantor and Kemba. Swap out Robert Williams, Jason Tatum, or Jaylen Brown. Tell Tatum you got to hit the bench. Or Tice at the 4. So you tell me how you want it to go. It's really funny. The Celtics have so much talent and so much potential, and I think that this is the year they actually reach it, simply based on the fact that you don't have a selfish ball player on the team right now. You have Jaylen Brown, who has shown that he's going to get his offense, he's going to get his scoring within the offense, and he plays aggressive defense on the other team's best wing. Marcus Smart. I mean, think about it. End of the game lineup. We didn't even talk about that. End of the game lineup is simply Kemba, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Cantor. Hayward. We forgot about him. You see what I'm saying? The lineups just run so deep but Marcus Smart being one of those guys that we used to having on the court at the end of the game. What do you do in that sense? Do you take Cantor off the court? Who plays center? When you're playing, the NBA has switched so much but every team has some sort of center in some context. So you're going to have Cantor, or maybe Cantor's on the bench and you have Tice in the game who can shoot threes, and that way it stretches everything out. And you keep JB, JT, Gordon Hayward, and Kemba. Or maybe Tatum's been scoring so much that game, but defensively at the end of the game, you need it locked down, and you simply take him out and you put in Marcus Smart. The team, I just believe this team won't be defined by a specific lineup. The backups, in terms of Marcus Smart being in and Kemba being on the bench, or JT and JB being on the bench, or Gordon Hayward being on the bench, and Kemba coming back in, the rotation will literally be about who's scoring. And then who needs rest? if the backup unit mixed with the starting unit, mixed with the rotation of the fact that you have starters coming off the bench technically, it'll always be everyone for the team. Or at least that's what I project. So just let's look at that for a second, regardless of my lineup spoken. Let's look at that for a second. All right. I also think the Celtics definitely should put Taco Fall at that 15th roster spot. They're saving it. They signed everyone that they wanted to. They're saving it. They dumped Yabusele. I'm telling you, Taco Fall is a talent that needs to be here. We could potentially have our 5 there, allowing us to play Cantor at the 4, allowing us to play a Tatum at the 4, allowing us to play, think about it, in terms of the length he makes up for, and he's not just a guy who the way he broke down on defense and slid side to side, and the length he covered, it's ridiculous. You can play Tatum at the 4 when your center is 7'6" and can move and isn't Bobo skinny. It's crazy. Let's hope. Last thing said. Let's shoot for Taco Fall on that 15th roster spot, y'all. There's still one left, and we'll be dealing with it in another video later tonight, later today. We'll holla at y'all. All right, Matrix out.